Hey, good evening, everybody. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make hot sauce. I love hot sauce, and I do have a couple of varieties I'm particularly fond of. But I realized, these things are getting really expensive, like anywhere from $4 to $7 to even $10 a bottle. And if you look at the size of the bottle, some of these are actually half a cup. And I thought, no, there's got to be a better way. So I did my research, and guess what? There is a much better way. Now, a good hot sauce has 5 key ingredients that I discovered in my research. You've got a hot component, and tonight I'm using a pack of red Fresno peppers. These are medium hot, but that doesn't really matter because that is your own taste when you make it. But this is what I have. So there's the hot part, there's the sour part. I've got plain vinegar here. Some people would use rice vinegar or, red wine vinegar, cider, whatever you like, okay? So there's hot, there's acid, there's savory. I've got some dried onion. And speaking back to the chilies for a minute, I'm using fresh. You could use dried. I could use fresh onions, but the reason I'm using dried is to control the fluid content of the sauce and not have it too runny. So back to the savory, I've got some garlic, shallot, and dried onion. And to balance off the flavors, some salt and some sugar. Tonight I'm using some pink salt out of a grinder, and I've got some organic cane sugar. These are the proportions I'm using for this sauce. Measure the onion into the pan. Season it with salt to taste. I'd say I'm going to be putting in probably around a half a teaspoon ground. You can always add more salt later, but you can't take it out. This sugar has a milder flavor than regular table white sugar, so I put a bit more than usual. If you are going to use white sugar, you probably would want 2 teaspoons instead of a tablespoon. Add the vinegar. Swirl that up a bit. One thing I neglected to mention at the beginning, one of the most important ingredients are the rubber gloves. Whenever you work with fresh chilies, trust me, you want to use rubber gloves and glove up before you start in case you forget and touch your face or mouth or other regions of your body by accident. You will regret it. It hurts. And while we're on the issue of safety, later on, resist the urge to smell this. The fumes are caustic and they can burn your eyes and mouth. And I'm probably going to be putting on the stove fan. Once I peel the outer skin off the shallot, I don't slice it any further. There was 2 buds inside and they just fall apart. This goes right in the pan as is. Trim the ends off the garlic and peel it. Once peeled, I just give them a good smash and throw them into the pot as is. Unless you grow your own peppers, it's always wise to wash them just to make sure there's no pesticides left on them. Once they're washed, the preparation is minimal. Cut the ends off. And it's a good habit to wash your gloves between every step of handling the peppers. Once I was making something with ghost peppers, which are hotter than habaneros, if you can believe it, and I forgot to wash the gloves, and I touched the skin on my arm, and it was burnt for like 2 days with a mark on it. So chili is something you should be careful with and respect. Now, there's a slight blemish on one of these, so I will just cut that off and discard it. That said, just visually inspect your peppers to see if there's any other bits that have to go. These all look good. Now, so what you do is just hold one, cut it down the back, open it up. Now this part you're going to have to take my word for because I'm going to do it over the sink for most of it. You pull out the seeds and the pith, discard them, and then what I do is I rinse this under the tap quick to get any couple of seeds out. So once that's done, then I'll just, yeah, even the fumes of that, it's enough to make you cough. So after you finish coughing, put this in the pan and prepare the rest. Now, whenever you open the pan with chili in it, always do it away from your face. Never, never put your face over a pan of hot sauce. If I'm coughing and choking this bad just from smelling the fumes at room temperature off the freshly cut pepper, you can imagine when this thing is boiling, okay? So get those in face down and just let that simmer a bit. You can turn the heat up a little bit now that everything's in. You do have to keep an eye on this to make sure the pan does not boil dry. Now, if you forget or walk away or get a call or something, you can always top it up with some water, but the flavor won't be the same. And if you're not used to working with gloves, just after you've rinsed them once, pull one off, hold it with the other hand, pull the other one off, and discard them. The cooking time on this is only a few minutes actually, and when you smell the steam coming off of it, when it starts to smell quite nice, it's done. Now what you want to do is look into it, and I'll take the lid off away again. Now there's a bit of fluid in the bottom, but not that much. I'm just going to turn this off. Basically what you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever dried ingredients you have in there have rehydrated, and the stuff like the shallots and the peppers and the garlic has had time to steam a little and soften up, so you're not getting crunchy bits in the blender. Bring the pot directly over to the blender and making sure you keep your face away from it. Pour the contents in carefully. I would kind of try to hold that down. I think I lost a bit of onion or something. Oh well. Luckily this is to taste, so. Once you got all that in, make sure the lid is firmly on. Start it on low. And once the pepper pieces are broken up a bit, you can turn it on high. Now feel free to leave a few chunks of unchopped peppers in for character. I store this in a glass jar in the fridge. What I am going to do is I'm going to just put a bit in a glass dish I've got so you can see the consistency. The sauce is still steaming. You actually should let this cool off for an hour or so before you put it in the fridge. And you'll see it's kind of frothy because it's been all beaten up. The air bubbles will come out, not to worry about that. Okay, so that's enough for the demo. So I got a spoon in here so you can see the consistency. It's sort of like applesauce. And you know, if I hadn't been explaining things to you, I could have had this done in about 5 minutes. Now, I should say that I do keep this blender for hot sauce. This is not what I make fruit smoothies in. And if you have an old cheap spare one, I would recommend the same. So I hope you try this. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.